Welcome to another episode of Achievements, where we celebrate the remarkable journeys of extraordinary individuals. I'm your host, Abdulatif Laanazi, and joined by my colleague, Fatma Lawadi. Good evening, Fatma.
Good evening, Abdulatif. Yes, dear viewers, today we have a new story for you and a new guest, and we can't wait to share that with you, so please stay tuned with us after this break.
A successful identity is built on things a person has done. Your most important accomplishments are a very important way for you to measure your success. Colleagues, competitors, and the general public can look at a person's achievements to figure out how successful they are. Most of the time, putting in a lot of work pays off. Most people think a successful life is one of a lot of things to be proud of. When you finish a task, you win over problems or other people. Achieve means to work together to reach a hard and challenging goal. Everyone should be ready to help out and work together if they need to. There are many ways to reach your goal, but in the end, it's up to you to decide how it will pay out in your life. In their careers, some people want to get rich and will be well known. Some people think that even small victories are reasons to have a party. We're all different, so we all have our own thoughts on everything. In the end, though, everyone wants to be happy, and everything you do in life will help you to get closer to that ultimate goal.
Welcome back, our dear viewers. Today we are joined by our guest, Maali Salmin, an aircraft engineer. Maali, thank you for being here with us at Achievements.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Maali, for being with us, and we can't wait to share your story and your enthusiasm about aircraft engineering.
I can't wait to show you my world.
Yeah. So can you tell us from the beginning, what inspired your passion about aircraft engineering?
It's actually a funny story. I started off my journey, I suppose, towards my career in medicine, actually. I graduated from high school and went off to study medicine.
Yeah.
And it was only when I had entered the hospitals and started doing the work when I thought I loved the studying part, but I absolutely do not see myself doing this for the rest of my life. And that's when I just decided to pull the plug on medicine and was like, I need to find a new passion. And that was when I was just like, you know what, something different, aviation engineering. So I gave it a shot. I'm a huge fan of numbers and physics.
Mm-hmm. And you're very good at them too.
Yes, I love when things add up. I do enjoy when things add up. So the world of aviation was fascinating, how you could, realistically, it's a giant tin can that you're throwing up in the air with a bunch of people and their stuff. And they're landing on the other side, happy and ready to enjoy a vacation or to go see family or whatnot.
Yeah. Okay, so Maali, we want to know what are the major roles and responsibilities that you have as an aircraft engineer?
Well, it's the safety of the entire aircraft. Like I said, you're going to be taking a bunch of people safely across an ocean, across land, and it's very important that you follow procedure. And people think it's a giant scary thing, but it's not. Everything we have is written down. Every step of our job is literally, you have done the removal of these 4 screws. You need to sign and stamp there to confirm that that's what you did, because you don't know, in future something wrong happens and it was a maintenance issue. At least you can track back to, wait, hey, did you actually do this or did you not? Our jobs are sort of, it's a no going back once you've made a mistake, and that's kind of part of what excites me, I believe, because I am a bit of a perfectionist. Mm-hmm. So when things are done very well, it's very, very satisfying.
Yes, and I want to make, I have to say something, is that what you said makes you one of the most perfect candidates for the job. That's why, because you love everything to be perfect. I mean, people with the sloppy qualities, or they're trying to nothing's gonna happen, everything's gonna be fine.
Yeah, no, we don't need that kind of mentality when taking care of our aircrafts. Yes, thank God you're here.
So that's what makes it perfect, and thank you for that.
Yeah. And if you don't already know, flying is actually the safest mode of transport. Yeah, it's safer than driving. It's safer than being on a boat. So I mean, I like to be part of that industry that is the safest.
That's
And you
amazing.
found yourself when you got onto the field, right? When you went to the being aviation engineer, you found yourself because at the first you pulled the plug on medicine, you couldn't find yourself on it. But when you went to
Absolutely.
aviation and you went there exactly, can you describe the feeling that you had?
What's brilliant really is the fact that every day is different. You go into work and you don't know what's about to happen. You don't know what you're about to discover.
Not the usual work like
It's
in
not the
working in the
routine that
office.
you think- yeah.
Absolutely,
I hate
it's
it,
not
yeah.
predictable. And I think that element is essential for a person like me, because I do tend to get bored sometimes with things. So to walk into work and not know what you're doing is kind of a blessing. And going back to medicine, what pulled me out of medicine was like, do I want to wake up every morning and do this for the next 25 years?
More,
and it
actually.
was not the case with medicine. With this, I go to work and it's mostly play for me, because you go in and there's a big airplane, all these big tools, and it's like a giant toy.
Like a giant toy.
Good.
She's,
Yeah.
But it's like more than you found yourself, because it's also connected to the people's happiness, because the most thing that we love is actually going to the airport and going
Yes.
inside that airplane.
Yeah.
Yes,
And
it
it's
is.
thrilling, yes. And could you please tell us about the process of making an aircraft? I mean, simply and
Okay.
briefly, of course. We know it takes
It takes
a lot of
a couple of years actually of planning and getting the aircraft ready. A couple of years is actually probably a little short, but closer to like from the point of you starting to design the aircraft takes between 3 and 5 years to have the final product. So when it comes to designing, you're not just designing the inside where we want pretty seats and we want massage chairs and we want wireless chargers.
Cool screen.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's also the engine. There's also, the passengers don't want just the comfortable seat. You have to make sure that the lighting is right. You have to make sure that the temperature is right. If the customer has a child, there are a lot of things we want to cater to make sure that our customers like our airline or like our aircraft. If we're going into the more technical side of things like satellites and engines and APUs and whatnot, that's another playing field from sort of like the noise perspective, the fuel consumption perspective. A lot of the aviation companies are kind of veering towards going more eco-friendly.
Yes.
And I love that. I love
Less
that
carbon
that sort of
footprint, yes.
direction.
It's actually a cool field.
Yes,
It
yeah.
is.
Yeah.
And Mali, if you could also tell us about, we've seen the upgrades and the latest updates that you have on the aircrafts. How do you stay up to date with the latest technology and advancement in aircrafts?
Well, you have to love it, for
Okay.
one. I enjoy looking into the newer things. Every year you will find sort of like expos where suppliers and different companies want to show you the newest technology, and it's something out of this world. Like,
And you actually go and choose for example, let's say the seats.
Yes.
Or you personally go and choose that, right?
Well, in this particular case, when we are looking to buy seats, obviously all the vendors want to show you all the nicest
coolest
stuff.
gadgets
Yeah.
So
there.
they'll
The
send it
latest.
over to you.
Yes.
And you can get to tinker around with it. You just kind of plug it in and you can, if it's an electrical one, and you can funk around with it. And if you get a good enough deal, you can also customize it, like change the way it looks ever so slightly, make it a little more comfortable, make it a little lighter, because weight plays a big role in
Very
designing
big
an
role,
airplane.
yes.
So we do get to see a lot of the cooler stuff. And I personally actually went to the Hamburg, it's called the AIX, the Aircraft Interiors Expo. So basically anything that goes inside an airplane, there was a vendor there for it.
I would love to go to
They
that
were
expo.
a
Yes,
lot.
that would
It
be-
was wonderful.
It's complex though. It's not easy, and it's not. Isn't it overwhelming?
Well, I don't know if you're of the generation that watched Mary Poppins as a child.
Yes.
I
But
watched it.
there's the saying that in every job that must be done, there's an element of fun, and
Yes.
that's basically what it is. it is my job to travel. It is my job to go and find things for the company, and it's exhausting. Like, you could be out of the country for 4 days and come back for 3 days, and then you're sent off again for another 10 days. It's exhausting. It messes with your circadian rhythm and your social life and your family time. But I can't help but admit that I love it. Like, you have to find the balance of, you know what, working and then taking time off just so you can love the work when you go back again.
And that's what we love about you, Maali. Thank you very much
I
for this
see.
enthusiasm. Yes,
Yeah, I
love
see the
that,
spark
yeah.
in your eyes that you really love it. You took that inhale breath. They said, I cannot stop that. I love it.
Yes, I can't help
clearly
but
you
love
love
this.
it.
Yeah,
That's
we
perfect.
love that.
Okay, now let's get more into the serious part. Can you tell us more about the safety protocols, the regulation that you have, and how do you make sure that you complete it?
Safety is very, very important, let's say, in aviation, because you are dealing with large equipment. Like, you're dealing with tons and tons of metal at this point, and a lot of moving parts. So there are safety protocols that you have to study and pass in order to be working on an aircraft. There's, let's say, sometimes you need to go inside the fuel tank. Like, inside the tank where all the fuel is. That's very dangerous. So if you don't know what to do, you could, it's all fumes of gas. So you need to be trained to be able to go in and then safely come out without fainting.
For examination?
Wow.
For
You go inside
yes,
for-
if you're going to go inside,
Yeah.
checking for leaks, if you're checking for specific indicators inside the fuel tank, it all depends on the aircraft, really. But safety is top, really, because you're not dealing with something simple.
No,
Yeah.
no,
And,
you're not. Yes.
Because it's an aircraft, let's forget the stuff on the ground, like the engines and the landing gears. You do also go up top, on top of the aircraft where the satellites are. So that can be dangerous if you're not afraid of height. You have to not be afraid of height, sorry. Part of the safety protocols, you have to have a harness on, so if you inadvertently slip, you'll end up dangling instead of falling off onto the concrete
ground.
floor. So I don't think we don't really have very many issues with safety because it's so reinforced that you can't go wrong.
And it's the priority.
It
Number
is.
one is safety, and then everything
Absolutely.
comes.
Because
So-
we have to be safe enough to take care of the aircraft, which is going to have to be safe enough to carry passengers.
Exactly.
Over 100, yeah.
Yes, and Maali, if you could please tell us about a challenging situation that you've encountered.
Oh.
Okay,
you
I
get
see you
inside the
smiling,
fuel?
so there's definitely a challenging part. Yes.
Let's say during college, we were always taught that, you know, it's the technical stuff that's difficult, and, you know, you're going to have trouble with this. And I mean, you know, when they say, it's like, I didn't think a broken screw was going to be as big a deal
Yes.
as they made it sound like in college, but it really is, it's nothing. It's mostly the interaction with people. It's learning to work as a unit, as a team, not creating a sort of, I'm the boss and you're not. We all work intricately together
On the same
to
level.
create this safety culture and atmosphere. So you can't say, well, really, no, you're a cleaner. You have to listen to what I do. We completely eliminate that from the workspace. I'd say I am one of the first females in this type of working environment in my particular company, but it was only a problem initially because, do you know how, I mean, I believe, you know, when guys are together,
Yeah.
they're a lot more loose, a lot more sort of boyish. So when
Yeah.
a woman comes in, it makes it awkward for them because they
little
forget her presence when they're trying to be themselves at work. But that took a bit of adjusting in the beginning, but honest to God, it was a lot easier than I thought it was going to be the way I saw things.
Yeah, because when we imagine it, we think that it's going to be a lot hard, way harder than we might be expecting. Yeah.
It
Yes,
is.
yeah.
Maybe
is.
another thing, it's a challenge, but it was something we expected, is working in the heat.
Yes.
Like, you have to bear in
Definitely.
mind, I worked in line maintenance for a while. So line maintenance is when aircraft lands,
Yeah.
takes people and stuff off, refuels, and leaves again. So it's usually there for 2 or 3 hours. So we do a quick check.
On the heat.
And the aircraft goes.
Yes.
And that's in the heat. And you
Wow.
could be standing and the engines are on and you're in the blazing heat. And if you don't love it, then you
You're
will
gonna burn.
not
Go back to,
you
yes.
won't enjoy your job.
Yeah.
I
Yes.
actually don't mind.
So, Maali, of course, we have more and more questions, but for your viewers, we will be back after the short break.
Maali Salmin is an aircraft engineer. She has found her love and passion for aircrafts earlier on. She has managed to spend most of her time working with aircrafts and figuring out how they function. Maali has also faced many challenges along the way. However, she has managed to overcome them, and that has made her stronger than ever. Maali has had many adventures and trips in her career. Every day, she learns new tricks and techniques in working with aircrafts. She has been on many journeys and flights that has certainly taught her a lot. Maali believes in doing what she loves. During the COVID-19 pandemic, Maali assured that the aviation industry has been suffering and pushed to its maximum limits. However, this has only made her stronger and even more passionate about her career and what she loves doing the most. Maali, you have certainly made us proud. In order to succeed in the road of life, it is important to do what you love and love what you do. This has been assured by Maali as it has helped her in the aviation journey. This journey has made her ready for any challenges that come along the way, and we are proud of her. Maali, good luck in your career, and we are excited to see more of your accomplishments. Keep up the great work.
Welcome back, our viewers, as we continue our interview with our dear guest, Maali Salmin. Maali, welcome back.
Thank you.
Can you tell us exactly how does the teamwork play a role in engineering?
Well, I can't fix the airplane on my own. I have to
course.
get orders from my boss, who gets his orders from a different section. So an aircraft is, let's say it's a flying car. If we're going to put it in simple terms.
Flying
Your
plane,
car,
a flying
Flying car.
flying
yeah.
vehicle.
Flying vehicle.
yeah.
So just like your car, an aircraft has to come in for servicing every specific time. It could either be flight hours or an actual set amount of time. So you have the people working with the fuel, you have the people working with the tires. So everyone has almost their subspecialty, and we all obviously intricately work together in a web. So I can't do a lot of my job without some of the electrical engineers. I know nothing about electrical engineering or radio satellite stuff. I know vaguely, but I don't know the details, and I don't have the confidence it takes to work on something like that. So it's nice when we can appreciate each other's trades. Like I can appreciate the guy who's really good at repairing the skin of the aircraft, because it's an art ultimately to make it aerodynamic and smooth and pretty to look at. Do you get what I mean? So
Yeah.
and that's
So you
Completely
rely
each
on
other.
each other, yes.
Yeah.
we do, and this is sort of like the different trades working together, but then in each trade you have the subset, you have the bosses, you have the engineers, you have the mechanics, and we all have a role to play to ultimately finish the job.
Yes.
I can't do it all on my own, and neither can the mechanics. And it's important to make sure everyone feels good about doing their job.
Yes, and Maali, I also remember asking you, did that inspire you to get into engineering to work on cars? And you once said, the worst thing that could happen is that your car could stop because you're on the ground. It's not the same as in an aircraft. Could you please tell us a little bit about how you transferred your experience and your skills from aircraft engineering to cars and your enthusiasm there?
That actually happened in college as well. I remember distinctly studying the different types of engines, so gas turbine engines and piston engines. So back in the day, they used to use piston engines on aircraft, which is basically what you're using in your car. So like I said, aircraft has to fly. If something goes wrong up there, you better really be good at gliding your way down and landing. But with a car, it's like the engine stalls, like, oops, the car stopped.
Yeah.
What's the
Okay.
worst that's going to happen? Yeah. Well, there could be bad things that could happen, let's admit, but 99% of the time, I doubt it would be an issue. It's a matter of what, you need to jump start your car. Do Do you need to call someone to just come pick it up? Do you need to just call your father, your brother? It's simple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But when you're dealing with an aircraft, that's hundreds of people and thousands in luggage. And
That's a different case.
it is. It
Yes,
is.
I
It's an
bet it is a
entirely
different case. Yeah.
Yeah. So getting back to the more exciting and fun part, okay, after waiting to the real serious. So can you tell us what's the in your point of view, what's the most exciting and yet fun and the latest development in the latest years on the field of engineering, aviation engineering?
Like I said, I like how the industry is going towards a more sustainable, carbon neutral, I'm hoping eventually, direction, because aircraft or aviation is given a bit of a hard time with regards to the environmental impact.
Yeah.
When realistically, honestly, it's not as big as we think it is. However, it's still a direction that engineers want to go into. We're looking into things like biofuels. Self-flying aircraft is possible, but it's just sort of the acceptance of the people that's stopping us from flying them without pilots.
Yes.
I've seen things like, it's almost like a little device where if you're having a medical emergency in the air, you can call using a screen and a camera the ground, and you could have doctors at your disposal in the event that you
Guiding you through yes.
up until the point you have to land, and
Okay.
you know they can get
That's
the
perfect.
medical
Yes.
attention.
Yeah.
So there are no limits. There
Wow.
are no limits, and it's wonderful what you can see year after year in the
Yes.
industry.
And Maali, since you mentioned something about environmental issues, can you please discuss environmental considerations and efforts in aircraft engineering?
Like weight savings, that's usually the biggest one. Manufacturers coming with lighter and lighter equipment, which is wonderful for us, because if you know anything about physics, you know that you require a lot of energy to move a large mass. So if we can reduce that mass, we reduce the amount of energy required to move it, and that would in turn require less fuel.
Yeah.
If I was to put it in physics terms, it's like force equals mass times acceleration.
Okay, you
So
lost me there.
It takes, let's say, it takes the same amount of force to move this vase from here to there, but it would take me less force to move the smaller one from here to there. But what's the difference between them? Let's leave size out of the equation. It's the weight.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it would
Is that
take.
why they charge us for extra weight?
It is.
Okay.
It is, and
For
I thought it's
more
only I thought it's
fuel?
financial thing.
Oh,
you know,
no, no,
it's a fuel thing, actually. They save on fuel if you take lighter stuff. Let's say our local airlines, maybe they'll give you a free bag or two. But in the States and in Europe, you
Charge a
don't
lot.
actually get a free bag when you buy a flight. It's like, you want a bag? Okay, you can pay for it.
Yes, like
And
the
that
budget
is-
airlines, is that what they're
That
called?
is
Yes, yeah,
generally
yeah.
what they do, yes.
Okay. So they calculate the final weight, and then whatever they charged you, they can spend that on the fuel.
Well,
Yeah.
yes.
That's the whole picture. Okay,
That's the
now I get
idea.
it.
However, fuel actually costs different amounts depending on where you are.
Oh, okay.
So let's say if you're refueling here in Kuwait, it will cost you less than, say, refueling somewhere in France. So I think that's what attributes the fact that we can give away free bags. So that's my theory.
What about what about the new type of fuel that they are putting? It's actually environmental friendly, as I heard. Is it true?
It is, but we haven't gone in that direction yet.
We-
It's still
Still.
sort of we're still on regular aircraft.
Getting
Yeah.
back to the maintenance, how do you handle the maintenance and the repair of the aircraft, and how much time does it take?
That's
some
a good
time.
question. It depends. We do things called A checks and C checks. An A check would probably last anything between 1 and 3 days, where you do very, very basic. It's almost, again, like a basic service.
Yeah.
Something more deep would be something like a C check, which, depending on what you find, can take anywhere from a week to a month.
Okay.
Because if, say, I found a defect and I don't have the spare parts for it, I have to order the spares. Some
take-
companies can't give you their spares on the spot. You have to wait a couple of weeks. And when you have to wait a couple of weeks, you can't fly the aircraft. It's considered what we call AOG, which is aircraft on ground, which means you cannot fly this unless you have all of these parts on it. Some parts cannot be, let's say, you can't pass them and just let the aircraft go. Some things are essential. And if you don't have them, you can't fly it.
Yeah.
Thanks
Wow.
to your wonderful work, we actually seen that, as you said at the start of the interview, is that
She's very passionate about it. Yeah.
Yeah, and is that the aircraft is actually one of the most safest transportation. And
Oh, yes,
thanks to
definitely.
you on
Yeah.
that.
Maali, when I start as a host, I usually have my cards, my earpiece, and my mic. Those are my tools. What about you? What are your tools for your everyday work life?
Say they have to be physical tools. I have my journal. I have a journal.
Oh, I know that. Yes, the one that you. Yes.
I plan everything in my life up to a week in advance, sometimes 2 weeks, depending on how hectic it is. I have to make sure I'm ready for the day. So I have this morning routine where I wake up at 4:30.
Mashallah.
And in that time, from that point till the point I get to work, that's where I can set my mood for the entire day. And having the right mindset to deal with things like this is essential because, again, you don't know what's about to come up.
Yeah.
And whether or not, they're going to be like, oh, the aircraft is staying because of you and your work is pending and now we all have to wait. And it's like, it's no one's fault, but you feel it. There is a pressure there.
Yes. So what do you, I'm sorry if that sounds cliche, but do you walk around with a screwdriver because you're the engineer?
I would do that actually if I was an
I
aircraft
walk
engineer.
around with my uniform,
Okay.
mostly.
Yes.
Yeah, that's actually cool enough for that. So can you tell us about a significant memory that you had during your journey as an aircraft engineer? With an aircraft project that you had?
I could remember one of the first aircraft I was going to get delivered to Kuwait. So basically what I do as part of a team is we go and we pick up the airplane and bring it back empty. So it's just us, probably a dozen people plus the pilots, bringing an empty aircraft back. So I remember one of the first times, it was obviously new to me. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know how involved I had to be, so I obviously went above and beyond. And I remember doing an inspection inside the cargo compartment, and the only it's not my work, but the only reason why they put me in there is because I was small enough. Because the other guys were just too tall and too bulky to be able to reach to the end of the cargo.
Wow.
So I mean, that's one thing that kind of made me proud. It's like, yeah, this is why they need some girls in this, because we can wiggle into small spaces.
No, I don't think that's why. But you know, you were the right person in the right moment where they needed
Wow,
you.
that's
Definitely.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And Maani, from your perspective, what do you think we need more for an environmental friendly aircraft?
I mean, the developments are already in place. I think people just need to embrace. And I think the more people that embrace and incorporate these things into their airlines, the more they're going to sort of entice the other airlines to do the same thing.
Do you think we're ready?
Well, when are we ever ready for anything new? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's always going to be skeptics. There's always going to be someone who's going to be like,
yes.
oh, but why would you do that? That's different. But I mean,
Everywhere in the world, yeah.
absolutely. And in
goes
every
like that.
field. So
Yes.
it's, once you know that, it's one of those things you just stop reacting to.
So can you tell us exactly, a lot of people think that it's really important, but can you tell us exactly how important it is, the maintenance for the aircraft, especially before it goes on air?
It goes without saying, there is no aircraft leaving without maintenance saying that it's okay.
Okay.
Because
No way.
no way. You can't take it unless the engineers have said you can. And the only person who can go against us, I suppose, is a pilot, even like, because ultimately it's his aircraft. If you want to fly with it with all these defects, that's your risk, and all these people's lives are in your hands, not ours.
Wow.
So it is, again, it is quite serious because you are taking up like 36,000 feet. It's not.
Yeah,
Right, it's not.
it is
it's
really
not.
important.
Yes.
Yeah. So can you tell us also, did you have ever a dark moment that you would say to yourself, okay, I wish if I go back in time and get back to medicine or like any other field except aircraft or
Honestly,
aviation engineer?
that happened for the first 3 or 4 months of my career when I was like, what have I done?
What have I gotten myself into?
Yes, absolutely. Because I'd gone in, you know, with full force, and then I realized all of my college classmates had been sent to the field, and I was sent to an office. I was saying, that's ridiculous. I don't want to be in an office. They're like, oh, but you're a girl. We only assumed. Like, oh, if you can find a section that wants a new engineer, then fine. And I was lucky to be pulled out of the offices and sent into the field.
You were
That's
the chosen.
amazing.
And
Yes.
I was, and I'm
Yes.
very thankful. I'm very thankful I didn't quit in
Alhamdulillah.
that
Amazing.
That.
moment
That's
too.
amazing. Because you know, in engineering, I don't think it matters men, women. It's the craft. You know, it's the craft that you have. If you're good
Absolutely.
enough, then you get in. You're not good enough, it doesn't matter your gender. Yes.
You actually
Absolutely.
handle it way more than other men, because I think that you handled on a situation with the heat. I mean, a lot of men that I know personally, if they go 3 hours under the sun, this Kuwaiti sun, they will handle like 25 minutes. They will say,
Yes.
I'm sweaty, I didn't sign for this, I'm getting out, I'm getting out to home.
And, you
Yeah.
And
do
thank you
see
for that.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you very much, Maali Salmin, for this beautiful interview. I really had fun, and I hope you
Me
did
too.
too.
I did,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Thank you very much for the information. Dear viewers, thank you for joining us on this episode of Achievements. We hope Maali's story has inspired you to explore the different passions and embrace creativity in significant ways. Stay tuned for more inspiring stories in the future. Goodbye.
Goodbye.